What's up guys, Chris here, back with another Eden Zero manga chapter review, and this will be on chapter 158. Now for those of you who have been wondering why I've been gone with the last basically 3-4 chapters, I have been on vacation, so I was not able to record and make any videos as I was on vacation. I wanted to enjoy myself a bit, so I was also out of the country, so it took time. I did actually read the chapters while I was away, but I had no real equipment to make the videos or record. Nevertheless, I will do a brief summary of all 3 chapters that I have missed, and then we'll go on to this week's chapter. But before we get into that, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell for updates on future videos. If you like the Eden Zero content, please do this, as it really does help the algorithm promote more of my videos. And one cool piece of Eden Zero news from this channel: my Eden Zero Explained videos, the one on Ether Gear and the one on Shiki, have passed 1,000 views, and they're still climbing. I am currently finishing up the Rebecca video and Wise and Pino, so those videos should be out within the coming month. And after that, I will see what I will do about the rest of the Eden Zero Explained videos, and I do want to get more of those out there. Especially since the first half of the Eden Zero anime is currently out on Netflix from the end of last month. So hopefully I should have the Eden Zero crew by the end of season 1 fully explained on this channel before the second half goes on Netflix. But without further ado, don't forget to also check out my Patreon and my Ko-fi accounts if you want to help support the channel and help these videos come out a lot sooner, as being a bit more financially stable will help me get these videos out a lot quicker and will make them look a lot better. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. In chapter 155, we actually got the conclusion of Callum and Lyra in their fight against Jin and Clean. Jin and Clean seem to be having a hard time in their battle, but Jin managed to find a pretty good way to counteract his opponent's ether, thanks to Laguna's advice on how their opponents can actually alter the ether of their opponents. And after reclaiming it, they were able to basically turn the tide of the battle, and like I was expecting, Clean and Jin both initiated their overdrives, and my god, was it glorious. They one-shotted their opponents once they reached overdrive, and fully accepted the Eden Zero crew as their friends and family, and they will take up the role as the winds of Edens. So I'm liking how everyone in the crew is basically going to has a role in the Eden Zero, as basically the 4 shining stars do. Pino is set up to be the light of Edens, and with Clean and Jin, the winds of Edens, basically being the wind that carries the crew. And I'm liking that. I liked their development ever since they joined after Belial Gore, and I'm really liking that this whole crew is really starting to feel a lot more like family and friends, and their bond is getting a lot stronger. And yeah, I am honestly really excited about that. But then 156 hit, and I actually posted this over on Twitter when it came out, and my prediction was right. We've splintered off from Planet 66 and onto the temple on planet number 1, on Narrow Planet 1, where Jaguar led his forces along with some android company and stuff like that on a raid on the temple to take down Poseidon Narrow. As Jaguar shows how much of a beast he is and fully reveals his ether gear, which, if we take his name into account, makes a whole lot of sense. It was just staring us right in the face. He is a freaking Jaguar, man. This reminds me of One Piece with Rob Lucci and his leopard devil fruit, but this is a Jaguar. And my god, it shows how brutal this guy is. He's taking on all these soldiers and freaking tearing them limb from limb, one shot killing them, and it is freaking brutal. And then he gets a face-off with Nero himself. But then another member of this basically trio of the monster's biggest elders and monsters of this universe, Ziggy, shows up, and it's revealed that he actually took the opportunity, hidden with all the bots, and just stormed the castle now, leaving us with a 3-way standoff with Nero, Jaguar, and Ziggy. And then we cut back to Planet 66. Now, it's very possible that this is going to be a simultaneous flip-flop climax for this arc. For all we know, I'll get into this later down the road at the end of this chapter. All I know is I was right. I called it Yes, yes, yes. We're splitting focus, and this is gonna be awesome. But then we also got Shura revealing that his whole plan the entire time was for him to cause chaos and for Ziggy and Nero to fight. His money's on Ziggy, and he just straight up wants Nero, his father, to die. He wants Nero to die so he can have the entire Aoi Cosmos to himself. His right. So yeah, 157 comes in, and we basically get continuation of the last chapter with Shiki and the crew making their way to Shura, encountering basically Shura's secretary with this weird ether gear of strings, basically causing the emotions of Shiki and Rebecca to kind of flip-flop. Tangled up in this red string, they basically start acting like lovers. Once the string is cut by Happy, their emotions are literally forced to go into anger and hate as they literally try to kill each other. But thanks to Laguna showing up the last possible second, since Shiki and Rebecca were trying to fight this and they were starting to tear up, Laguna saved them, giving the bottle to the bottles to Pino and Happy to get away for now, and then release them soon after so the effects can wear off. And then we get the bombshell at the end of the last chapter that Shura's secretary is the very princess of the Oasis Rebellion that was said to have died. Now, hints of who this girl was initially was dropped by one of the soldiers back at the beginning of this arc, but we didn't really think too much of it. But now, Laguna's basically one of Laguna's best friends and members of the Resistance is working with Shura, closely with Shura. So that was a pretty nice twist, I have to say. And now, chapter 158, The Madness of a Man Who Knows No Love. We get started after this whole 5 freaking minute recap. So I am sorry for talking your ears off. Laguna is freaking shocked over the fact that the princess, we still don't get a name as far as I know, that she is alive and well. But she just says that your princess is dead and that she's an Imperial soldier now. Wrapping up Laguna in this red string, tossing him to the ground, but then creating a bunch of water to try and sweep her away. Laguna questions why she betrayed Oasis, betrayed her friends. But then she just calls him up says the man that ran out on all of us. And Laguna straight up admits it. He ran away because all he cared about was power. He went to the Sakura Cosmos in search of strength, and that he didn't think Oasis would ever be narrow with just with their idealistic talk and no action. So he made up his mind to take it down Nero himself, even if it meant becoming the vilest scum in all the cosmos. As well as the fact that his principles never really changed. Defeating Nero is his one and only goal. And I like how she, with a cold look in her eyes, just states that the only reason Laguna is doing this is because the Empire killed his best friend, and that's why he joined Oasis in the first place. And then rightfully angry, and lashing out at her with another water attack, straight up says that they killed the old boss, they killed her father, and she's still working with the enemy now. The princess manages to stop Laguna's attack and pierce his chest with 4 straight strings. Laguna's asking what happened as she just states the red string of destiny as we trigger a mini flashback to Laguna's time in Oasis. And we were due for a Laguna flashback at this point, and it is kept brief. So it appears that Laguna was very close to the princess, and that she talked about something called the red string of fate, and that she believes that somewhere in the cosmos is the man of her destiny tied to her by an invisible thread. And Laguna is just being like, how do you know it's red if it's invisible? And she just continues to state that the red string of destiny is just a bond of souls, and just binding 2 souls together, even if no one can see it. And Laguna's just with a straight face saying like, are you saying it might be linking you to me? As I like the whole blushing thing that she actually has a crush on Laguna. And Goodwin's second in command is like, no way, it would be you. And then Laguna's just like, I'm kidding. And that's basically the end of the flashback. Very brief, very mild, but it does show Laguna's connection to the princess and the rest of the group. So, yeah, it's a very effective mini flashback. I wasn't expecting like 5 full chapters, but a little more would have been nice, especially seeing the old boss and the reveal of the princess's actual name. Then again, I could be an idiot, and they probably stated her name earlier, and I just don't remember. But it is what it is. And I like how Laguna misunderstands at first, thinking that the red string of destiny is her referring to Nero. But she's actually referring to Shura, stating that he is the man of her destiny. And I like how Laguna straight up calls Shura a snot-nosed brat that killed dozens of her friends and even her own father, and subjected the Aoi Cosmos to all sorts of atrocities. And the princess is literally acting like no one can fight their own destiny, as Laguna is now fully convinced that she's been seriously brainwashed, and begins the attack again to try and open her eyes. As she is now trying to state that her eyes are wide open, and that Laguna needs his eyes opened, as the Empire cannot be defeated. No one can defeat the Empire. And I like that they're basically trading blows as they're shouting off their views and ideals. And I like how in this fight we get to see that just because it's a string ether, it has a lot of properties. It even managed to block Laguna's more recent attack. And it's basically an ether steeled thread that blocks everything. So if she just creates a matrix with her string, she can basically block almost anything. So that's really cool. She then pierces Laguna again with her thread and then sews everything together. And she just states that not even Goodwin can beat her. So that just shows how strong she is. And Goodwin was a freaking beast in his full introduction fight against an entire army. So yeah, even though it wasn't an actual officer or member of the Oceans, Goodwin did seem to be a freaking beast on his own. So if she beats that guy, then yeah, it shows how strong she actually is. She then states that she'll kill anyone that tries to get in Shura's way, even Laguna. As he just says that her string is red because it's soaked in blood, and Shura's brainwashed, and that Shura has just brainwashed her. After kicking Laguna in the gut, she tells Laguna her story of what happened when everyone presumed that she had died. She actually went to try and rescue some Oasis members, and she headed for the temple, but was immediately captured. Then, every day, and this was 3 years ago, every single day she was subjected to the cruelest and most humiliating tortures from Fred Shura, and he almost killed her time and time again. And I'm not going to get into the full extent of what Shura has done to her, but let's just say he treated her like a dog, had her publicly humiliate herself, and I'm just going to go there. And my god, yeah, that is honestly that is disturbing. I knew Shura was already a depraved madman. But yeah. Mashima, you really want us to hate this character, don't you? We already hate him. Why make us hate him even more? Shiki, please, punch this man in the face. I want you to punch Shura in the face so badly. Man, if that gets animated within seasons 2 or 3, this will probably be season 3. If Shura gets a nice, satisfying punch to the face, that is going to trend. And that'll be most satisfying punches to the face in anime. Okay, I'm getting off topic. I know every time I bring up Shura, I just mention Shiki punching him straight in his stupid face, but come on. We all think of it. But yeah, when Laguna just states he heard enough. And then she continues her story by stating that one day she realized that Shura was lonely, and that he never truly loved anyone, and he has never been loved. So this could show a much more sensitive, if you want to call it, side, more vulnerable side to Shura, which I'll admit, it's possible it makes sense for why he is the way he is, and why he was most likely legitimately asked to be Shiki's friend, and was disappointed when Shiki said no. Perhaps he saw in Shiki someone he could in fact relate to. So it does make a lot of sense. Don't get me wrong, just because the guy might have a sympathetic side or a sympathetic backstory does not make me hate him any less. But it would just make him a much more complex character than just, oh, he's spoiled brat, he wants to do everything, he wants to do whatever the hell he wants, and he just wants to kill people for no friggin' reason. But yeah, I do like that she's straight up seeing a side to him that, for all we know, doesn't even exist. And even Laguna straight up says that this might actually, doesn't straight up say it, but he basically refers to it as basic Stockholm Syndrome. I mean, compared to all the stuff that she had to go through, it makes sense for her to develop Stockholm Syndrome, especially if this happened over the course of within 3 years. We don't know how long it took until she developed this, but we can assume it had to have been about at least a year. But yeah, she just looks at Laguna coldly, stating that he wouldn't understand, and he'll never know the strength of Destiny's bond, or the madness of a man who doesn't know love. So if Shura's become like this because he doesn't know love, like he's never been loved and doesn't know how to show love, then it makes sense. But anyway, cut back to Shiki, Rebecca, Pino, and Happy as they're making their way to where Shura should be. As then they open the door to see a sight that I prayed we would not see. Shura over presumably a dead witch. Her side has been completely, and I mean completely, ripped open. Wires out. The fluid in her body has been spilling out, much to the shock of Shiki and everyone. As Shura just states that Shiki that he took too long and that he broke his toy. As with the look, and it seems like that witch is most likely dead or just critically damaged. I don't think the witch is dead. They're not going to kill off an important character. But if they do, my god, this does freaking change things. Especially now, since it's clear that Rebecca can't use Cat Leaper anymore for this arc. For presumably she can't use Cat Leaper. And the final panel is just Shiki in an ominous rage. And yeah, that ends the freaking chapter. And man, whew. Yeah, this is a pretty good chapter, but the ending. And this was brought up by, I believe, someone either on Twitter. I can't find the thread. But showing all how in that first vision of the future that Rebecca had back in Bellio Goer, how cold Shiki was in that flashback when Rebecca brought up Happy, and Shiki stated, "What good is talking about a dead cat?" As Shiki is someone who truly values his friends and allies, and he would never say something so cold. But after experiencing something like that, it would probably make sense why he's become so cold. Now, here's the thing. For all we know, we avoided the future where Rebecca can't use Cat Leaper at all, her losing her legs. But that's still up in the air. And the possible future of everyone in the Eden Zero being killed, which was probably alluded to by the future Master Noah earlier in this arc, it's very possible that Witch could be the very first death, as Witch is actually the closest to Shiki compared to the rest of the Shining Stars. So, and same with Shiki, he's the closest to Witch and the closest to the rest of the crew. She is the oldest. She is closer to everyone else in the crew compared to Sister and Hermit. So, it makes perfect sense why Witch, being the first the first main character to actually die, makes perfect thematic sense and to help sell the gravity of this situation. But yeah, I don't think Witch is dead yet. For all we know, she's just on the brink of death, and as long as her core hasn't been destroyed, this was brought up back when Valkyrie died, as long as her core is not completely destroyed or out of power or whatever, she can still be repaired and stay alive. So right now, I see next chapter either finishing off the fight with Laguna and the princess, and then going straight into the battle between Shiki and Shura, the rematch, round 2, while Rebecca, Happy, and Pino will get Witch back to the ship as soon as possible, hopefully running into Wise on the way there. Maybe he can do something to prolong the damage until they get back to the Eden Zero, and we might end up having, perhaps maybe Homura be the one to stop All-Link, since she is out with Creed, who is also out to stop the All-Link system. And for all we know, there could be a mystery enemy up ahead that will require those two to fight. And then we might end up capping off the arc with the fight between Shura and Shiki, and then the battle against Nero with Jaguar and Ziggy. A three-way battle between three monsters, and a battle against a monster with Shiki, who might actually have to become a monster to beat him. But yeah, that's it for this week's chapter, and my god, was this a really, really good chapter. Eden Zero has been really great, and this arc can really actually potentially take down Bellio Goer as the best arc in Eden Zero. And I really hope it does. But yeah, with all that said and done, what do you guys think is going to happen next? Do you think Witch is actually going to be killed off in this arc? Do you think it's too early for a main character to be killed off in this series? Let me know down in the comments down below. And also, really quick, What do you think Elsie is going to do in this arc? It is confirmed that she is in the Alley Cosmos since Foresta, so what she is going to do now is fully up in the air. She is the only main player in this arc unaccounted for. So, leave your theories and thoughts down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be updated whenever I upload again. And I hope you all have an awesome day.